people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
To the motherfucking relay, we're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Ahead of what is one of the busiest weekends in the sport I've seen in recent memory. A lot of fights happening all over the world. I made up my mind when it comes to most of them. I have Sky Nicholson forcing a referee stoppage on Christina Jacobs. I think Christina's a little bit too stiff, too upright. And Sky Nicholson has the kind of length, speed, and I think she'll show some spike for this one. Because it's happening in her backyard, because it's happening in her native Australia, I think Sky Nicholson wants to make a statement. I think she's going to force a referee stoppage. I think Lobo Munoz is going to win on points against Chiwandire. I think Yamileth Mercado is going to win on points against Barbie Juarez. I think Caleb Plant's going to win on points against Anthony Durrell. I think Wilder's going to knock out Robert Helenius. Robert might be up on the cards at the time of the knockout. Might bank 1 or 2 rounds before he gets stopped, but I do think he's going to get stopped. I think Devin Haney, he's going to outpoint George Kambosos again, and I think Shernika Johnson is going to outpoint Susie Ramadan. But when it comes to this fight, on what is the premier card of all this weekend's cards, the main event of the Boxer show, Shields versus Marshall, a fight that's much tougher to edge, as far as I'm concerned, as those fights are. I've made up my mind. I've decided. This wasn't easy. It never is. When it comes to 2 really good fighters, 2 elite-level boxers. It's not cut and dry. I've never bet against Clarissa Shields before. I never have. But this time, this is different. And I've maintained that energy throughout. For several years now, I've said that Savannah Marshall has certain characteristics, certain ingredients that make her a formidable fighter and a credible threat to Clarissa. This weekend, I'm going with Savannah Marshall to win. I know that Clarissa's a more decorated fighter than Savannah Marshall. She's got a better resume, kind of like how Vasyl Lomachenko had a better resume than Teofimo Lopez, yet Teofimo still won, and Teofimo had a better resume than George Kambosos, but George Kambosos won. Still won. There's more to boxing than what you see on paper. Clarissa Shields sports a professional record of 12 wins, no losses, and no draws with 2 knockouts. To Savannah Marshall, who sports a professional record of 12 wins, no losses, and no draws with 10 knockouts. Savannah is so obviously the bigger puncher. That goes without saying. And Clarissa Shields can say what she wants. She can undermine Savannah's punching power to interviewers. She can say what she wants, and she can undermine her punching power at press conferences. She can say what she wants, but in the ring, that is a whole nother kettle of fish. It's quite another matter. And in the ring, if Clarissa Shields doesn't want to get knocked out, she has to mine Savannah Marshall's power. She can't let her land clean. And in order to offset Savannah Marshall's power, she needs to be economic, judicious, and responsible. Can she do that and bank the rounds? Or will minding Savannah Marshall's power and attempting to offset it, will that open the door for Savannah to outwork Clarissa? A lot is being made of Savannah Marshall's power, and it's true. She is the biggest puncher anywhere at or around these weights, and I happen to think if she lands clean, if she can stop Clarissa. Clarissa Shields was set on her back pocket by a junior middleweight who was moving up in weight, who's nowhere near as big a puncher as Savannah Marshall. If Hannah Gabriels can drop you, Savannah Marshall can drop you. Moreover, Savannah Marshall can stop you. She can, but there's this narrative going around that that's Savannah's only way to win. And you know what? I thought about this thing, and I don't think so. I don't necessarily agree with that. You will notice that Savannah Marshall is taller than Clarissa, longer than Clarissa. She's very fleet of foot. She's not stiff and upright like Christina Hammer, who was also taller than Clarissa, but very basic, robotic, and predictable. No, Savannah Marshall is an ambidextrous switch hitter who's light on her feet. She can fight southpaw, she can fight orthodox, and when she makes those transitions, they're seamless transitions in the moment. Clarissa's a very skilled fighter herself. Fast hands, fast feet, quick counters, all that jazz. Yeah, she's got fast hands from the outside, good straight punches, quick counters from the outside, quick combinations mid-range to inside, uses a shell guard. She's got tools. They've both got tools, but you know what settled it for me? I'm telling you, a lot of people are making a whole lot of Savannah Marshall's power, as if that's the only way to win one. I see a situation where Clarissa Shields, if she doesn't want to get stopped, she has to be mindful of that power. She's got to be responsible, and if she's a bit too responsible, she might get outworked. She might lose on points.
She might, and if she's not economic, if she tries to string 3 and 4 punch combinations together, she might get caught between the punches and she might get stopped.
I really thought about this, I did. And Savannah Marshall, being the taller, longer fighter that's light on her feet,
Always on the move, very herky-jerky. Doesn't need to be close to Clarissa, doesn't need to be right up on her to touch her with shots.
thought about those long arms that Savannah Marshall's got. She sometimes doubles up on the jab, has that hand out there.
Lining up her opponent for a power shot, I thought about it.
To offset the power that Savannah Marshall packs, Clarissa's gonna have to be very careful.
She's gonna have to be responsible, 1 and 2 punches at a time.
She may struggle to manage the distance, struggle to land clean because Savannah Marshall is a longer, taller fighter than she is. She needs to be close to Savannah to touch her with shots, but Savannah...
Yeah, she needs to be close, or at least closer to Savannah than Savannah needs to be.
Savannah doesn't need to be close to Clarissa to touch her with punches, touch her with shots, and the fact that she moves around so much, that she's so herky-jerky, though simultaneously so long and loose and light on her feet.
She knows she's a stronger puncher than Clarissa.
I think she's gonna go for it. I think she's gonna throw big shots, big punches with bad intentions, and it'll be up to Clarissa to stay out of the way of those shots, out of the way of those punches. It's hard to do that while simultaneously being the busier fighter.
She might not be able to do both, and as a result, she might get outworked.
If she's too defensive, she might get outworked. If she's too offensive, she might get caught between the shots. She might get stopped.
And Savannah's got home field advantage. They might both be signed to box her, but let's not kid ourselves. Savannah's the house fighter.
I imagine a very competitive fight in the beginning, but I can see Savannah getting through with some eye-catching punches, some eye-catching shots. Clarissa's great. Don't get me wrong. But I have seen lesser fighters than Savannah, lighter punchers as well, connect with shots upstairs.
It's a pick'em fight to a lot of people.
It's even a pick'em fight to me in many ways. But I haven't seen Clarissa have to deal with someone that has this many tools simultaneously. Christina Hammer had height, but she was robotic. Hannah Gabriels had a bit of punching power, but she was the naturally smaller fighter, and she had been stopped before.
Call me crazy, but I think this one's going to go to the cards. And when it does, I think it's going to be Savannah that has her hand raised.
I don't rule out a knockout, knockdowns, but I don't rule out a decision either. I'm going with Savannah Marshall to win this weekend. In other news, a curveball that I didn't see coming as far as exhibitions and circus fights go. Floyd Mayweather's upcoming exhibition match with YouTuber and social media influencer Deji, the brother of KSI, yet another influencer, that just so happens to have landed on the DAZN platform of all places. And what makes this a curveball is that both Floyd Mayweather and his point man at Mayweather Promotions, Leonard Ellerby, have spent a good amount of time undermining the platform, claiming that can't get any eyeballs on it because it's just an app. I remember Leonard Ellerby said that imagine their biggest star, Gervonta Davis, fighting on an app. Well, his boss is fighting on an app.
Your boss, too.
I remember after the Canelo Alvarez versus Billy Joe Saunders fight, Floyd Mayweather himself saying that he didn't see the fight because it happened on an app.
So how do you imagine people are going to see your fight, Floyd? It's being billed as a pay-per-view.
When this news broke, I didn't even bother to see when this thing is supposed to be going down. I don't care. I'm not buying it. I just find it fucking hilarious how the chickens have come home to roost for the both of these guys. We've often talked about here on the channel about Floyd's activity level in retirement, how he's a more active guy in retirement than many of the PBC's active boxers, active, quote-unquote, active guys like Jermall Charlo, who hasn't fought at all this year.
Active guys like Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, David Benavidez.
Guys that have only fought once, guys that have only seen action once the whole year so far, whereas Floyd will have gotten out there 3 times.
This thing's supposed to be going down November?
On the 13th. Given everything we've been hearing about, the PBC's financial crisis, the situation that's going on between Showtime and Paramount, and how Showtime might be phased out, how the people at Fox, the PBC's other network affiliate, they're not footing the bill, they're not shelling out any cash to pay for these cards and their production costs, that the money to finance this stuff, it's coming from the PBC directly.
And then you look at how active Floyd has been.
When Marcos Villegas, boxing scribe Marcos Villegas, who's in tune with the pulse of boxing, when he said that Fox isn't footing out any cash for production costs, and the PBC is paying for those fights that do end up on Fox. They're paying for them out of their own pocket.
You know, normally the budget for a promotional outfit that has a network deal, it comes from the network, but Marcos is saying it's coming from the PBC's own pocket.
It's the PBC paying for these shows, and the money to put them on, it's coming from their own pocket. But is it their own pocket, or is it Floyd's pocket? Is it that Al Heyman has had to burn through some of...
There's this rumor going around that Al Heyman doesn't give these guys their whole purses, not even Floyd. He pays them in increments, which begs the question, the rest of the time, where's the rest of the money?
Who's got it? And who's got access to it? Al Heyman would, presumably. And when you think about how things have been happening, has Al Heyman had to use that money to put on PBC shows on Fox, since Fox didn't want to foot the bill for production costs? And is Al Heyman burning through that cash? Is that why Floyd Mayweather has been staging as many exhibition matches?
Why was Floyd so angry at Canelo Alvarez last year when he fought Caleb Plant?
When the PBC gave Canelo Alvarez $40 million up front, $40 million guaranteed, no strings attached, more money than they guarantee their own fighters that they have under contract.
After the fight, why was Floyd taking shots at Canelo? Why was he so angry at that guy?
Could it be that the $40 million up front that Canelo Alvarez got, could it be that that money came from Floyd, and that's why he was so bitter? That's why he was so angry? And that's why out of the clear blue sky, he started taking shots at that guy?
Is that outside the realm of possibility? Is that far-fetched?
Or is it possible the reason that Floyd was so angry at that guy is because they had to use Floyd's money to pay him?
Do you see how active Floyd has been the last 2 years? The Logan Paul exhibition, the Don Moore exhibition, the one he just had in Japan, now this one?
This guy's working 3 or 4 jobs to keep the lights on at the PBC.
And now desperate times have called for
Desperate measures. He's fighting on DAZN in order to get the bag because, you know, whatever he made with Don Moore, whoever bought that thing...
I don't know anybody that bought that fucking thing, by the way.
Not a soul. And I don't imagine he could have made anything substantial from that. Maybe he got a nice size guarantee, nothing exorbitant.
You know, Floyd still brags about how much money he gets.
He said the organizers reached out. Floyd, we'd like you in Dubai. I said, I'm not getting on the phone unless we know the numbers. They wired me $1 million. I got on the phone ASAP. I said, let's make it happen.
This guy has already fought in the biggest box office fights in the history of box office fights. Maymac, the Canelo fight.
So why should he be bragging that somebody wired him $1 million just to pick up the phone? It doesn't seem in keeping.
Why isn't this fight on Showtime?
Why is he fighting on a platform that he was belittling and diminishing not that long ago? What, are you not on good terms with Stephen Espinoza anymore? Or is it that they ain't got the money?
They ain't got the money for Floyd. For Christ's sakes, they ain't got the money to get Crawford versus Spence over the line. You think they got the kind of money Floyd's looking for?
I don't think so. And Floyd Mayweather, after having diminished and belittled this app for as long as he has, and his point man, Leonard Ellerby, doing the same, desperate times.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
And he must be desperate because this is the competing platform.
You know, earlier this month, there was a story they ran on Essentially Sports. Boxing World rips into cheap Floyd Mayweather
for bad $10,000 demand despite billionaire status.
And you know, I didn't rush to do a segment on it because I figured, well, you know, time is money.
But this has led many to think about whether Mayweather is actually in need of money to support his extravagant lifestyle. YouTube podcaster True Jordy seemed to have the same question as he revealed that Mayweather once asked for $10,000 to appear on his podcast. I once asked
to get Floyd Mayweather on the podcast, you know.
This is what made me wonder about his finances. I thought, you know, I'll ask, and I got through the friend of a friend. I got quoted 10 grand.
10 grand to have him on the podcast, he said.
I thought, I don't know what to make of that. If you've got loads of money, why quote me 10 grand? I just think that everything is for a price with him. And maybe that's just him being smart, but I didn't pay it.
Why the hell would you? You're gonna pay $10,000 to hear Floyd say buzzwords and catchphrases?
Hard work, dedication, smart investments. You know the drill. You know what it's like.
Admittedly, when I heard about this, I came to a similar conclusion. That someone of Floyd's stature isn't gonna loan out his time for free.
No, time is money. And any adult that is an adult, any head of the household can understand that you're not going to run around.
Like I said, that's why I didn't rush to do a segment on it when I heard about it, but...
You have to understand the gravity of Floyd Mayweather making an appearance, lending his celebrity to what is the competing platform. The competing platform to his business partners, network affiliates, their platforms, Fox, Showtime.
If you're doing these exhibition things, why don't none of them pick them up? And why are you making an appearance on what is your business partners?
DAZN is the competing platform for Fox. DAZN is the competing platform for Showtime. One fan was surprised that Mayweather was only asking for $10,000, which seemed cheap to him. Surprised it wasn't more, to be honest. That seems cheap, he wrote. Another fan rightly pointed out the $10,000 for a couple of hours was a great price to get Mayweather for hours, who made way more in his fights that lasted just a few minutes.
$10K for a couple of hours is cheap.
Cheap for a guy who made millions in fights that lasted less time, he wrote. And, it all sounds great. It does even make a bit of sense, but now you're fighting on the competing platform.
That doesn't make any business sense. If you were going to lend anyone your celebrity and your quote-unquote drawing power, why wouldn't you lend it to Fox or Showtime?
You're supposed to be just as invested in the PBC as Al Heyman. And Al Heyman's network affiliates are Fox and Showtime. Even if Fox is set to leave the sport of boxing at the end of this year, well, what about your relationship with Stephan Espinoza? What about them?
It stands to reason that if Floyd were going to lend his celebrity to anyone, it would be his own business partner, who he's still in business with.
Showtime as a platform certainly could use those metrics, Floyd's metrics, because none of the guys boxing on their platform really move the needle.
Or is it that Showtime can't guarantee Floyd the kind of cash he's accustomed to making because Showtime's boxing budget has shrunk?
It's shrunk in the last 4 years. They ain't got the money to throw around the same way that they used to. Floyd Mayweather himself, he's not the same draw that he used to be either.
What do you think? That he goes in there with a Conor McGregor and it's just Floyd's fans buying the pay-per-view? It's just Floyd's fans showing up to the weigh-ins and showing up to the fight. Is that what you're telling yourself?
Well, where were those fans for the Don Moore exhibition earlier this year?
Where are the record-breaking pay-per-view buys? Where are the astronomical numbers and astronomical purses?
After the Don Moore exhibition, he went to Japan to fight a guy that has some celebrity in Japan. He's
back to waltzing around the ring with a social media influencer, but as we all know, social media influencers have lots of fans and lots of followers.
These circus fights are marketed towards those fans and those followers, not guys like us that watched Floyd back when he was an active boxer, boxing other active boxers.
We're not going to buy that crap.
Don't try to explain this away behind smart business. It's not smart business because you're essentially lending your celebrity, whatever celebrity you have left, to the competing platform.
After spending all that time diminishing DAZN, it seems that,
like I said, desperate times call for desperate measures.